Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to one more session of Maths. In this session, we are going to see how to teach children prime numbers, composite numbers, factors and multiples. These are very important concepts because fractions and your LCM, HCF are entirely based on these concepts of prime numbers, composite numbers and factors. When we teach in a typical classroom, we tell them that 2, 3, 5, 7 are all prime numbers. But what we are going to do today is, we are going to use manipulators and find out why they are called as prime numbers, because when they work out sums later on, when they have a confusion, they learn how to sort out their confusion all by themselves. Let us write numbers from 1 to 7. I am taking numbers from 1 to 7 for demo purposes, but when you do it in a class, do it from numbers 1 to 15. Now, what is the first number that you see there? 1. So, they have to take one coin and you ask them to group it. When we ask them to group it, please give very clear instructions that there should be equal number of coins in each and every group. So, when they take 1, this can be grouped only in one way. How many will be there in each group or in that one group? 1. So, I am going to write it just next to the number. So, which is the next number? 2. That means they have to take 2 coins. Ask them to put it into groups, and they can put it into groups of 1 each, or they can put it into a group of 2. That means they can arrange it in 2 ways. One is where they have 1 coin in each group, and the next is where they put both together and form a group of 2. Put it up on the board. So, which is the next number that you see? 3. So, here color does not matter, they can use any color. 3. So, in how many ways can they group it? They can put them into groups of 1 each. Can they put them into groups of 2? Don't tell them that they can't. Let them actually do it and say that they can't, because once they put them into a group of 2, they will have 1 left. So, that is not the right way to group. The next way of grouping is they put all the 3 together and form a group of 3. So, they can arrange it in 2 ways. One where they have 1 coin each, and the next group will have 3 each. Now, what is the next number that you see? 4. Make the child or the children take 4 coins. How many ways can they group it? They do it and they find out and tell you that they can be put into groups of 1 each, or they can be put into groups of 2 each. They can't be put into a group of 3, but everything can be clubbed together and can be made into a group of 4. So, let us write. So, what is the next number that you see? 5. The child takes 5. In how many ways can they group? They actually group it and they come up with the answer. They say that it can be put into a group of 1. They can be made into groups of 2. No, they can't be, because once they put into groups of 2, they will have 1 remaining. They can't be put into groups of 3 because they will have 2 remaining. they can't be put into a group of 4 because there will be 1 remaining. The next way of grouping is to put them into a group of 5. That means they can be grouped only in 2 ways, one into a group of 1 and the next where they put everything together and make a group of 5. Now for 6, they have to take 6 coins. Beautiful. In how many ways can they group? The children put them into groups of 1 each and say that they can be put into groups of 1, they can be put into groups of 2, they can be put into groups of 3, they can't be put into a group of 4, can be grouped as 5, and the next option is to put all 6 together and form a group. So, let us write it on the board. The last one is where we have 7. Okay. So, in how many ways can they be grouped? They can be put into a group of 1 each, and the next option is only to put them together and form a group of 7. Now, make the children look into the board and tell them there is one number which is very, very different, and which is the number? That is number 1, where it can be grouped only in one way. What is the other word that we use for different? It is very unique. Yes, 1 is a unique number. So, we keep them separately, we put them, we draw a crown and we put 1 inside and then say 1 is unique, it does not fall into the rest of the groups. If you look into numbers from 2 to 7, there are certain numbers that can be grouped in 2 ways and there are certain numbers that can be grouped in more than 2 ways. So, we are just going to draw boxes and then put them accordingly. Maybe draw a square and a triangle. So, in the square, I would write numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7. And in the triangle, I would write 4, 6. So, can we just keep saying these numbers, those numbers? Can we just give it a name? Yes, we are going to give it a name, or we are going to give this house a name. The first one where we have written numbers like 2, 3, 5 and 7 are called prime numbers. Why are they called prime numbers? Because they can be grouped only in 2 ways. The other set of numbers that we have written 4, 6, in case if you want to include 8, 9, 10 and it will go on like that, are numbers which can be grouped in more than 2 ways. If they can be grouped in more than 2 ways, we call them as composite numbers. So, we just write the name prime on top of this and the name composite over here. So, numbers like 2, 3, 5, 7 are prime numbers and numbers like 4, 6, 8 are all composite numbers. Give us some. Sometimes the child might get confused whether 2 is a prime number or 3 is a prime number. So, all that they need to do is take 3 coins and find out in how many ways they can group. If they can group it only in 2 ways, that means they are prime numbers. If they group it in more than 2 ways, they are composite numbers. So, this will help them to sort of overcome the confusion that they have. And we have been using this word group, group, group. Can we think of another word for it? Yes, the way in which it can be grouped can also be called as factors. Indirectly, when we talk of numbers like 2, 3, 5 and 7, we realize that it can be grouped only in 2 ways or they have only 2 factors. When we talk of composite numbers, they can be grouped in more than 2 ways or they have more than 2 factors. So, we introduce the language of prime composite, and also the word factors, which is very important for them to understand. So, just in the end, tell them that prime numbers have two factors, one and the same number, and composite numbers have more than two factors. So, the last one that we are going to see is how to help children learn multiples. They have learned prime numbers, they have learned composite numbers, they have also learned factors. The last one is multiples. So, when I want the children to write two multiples of 2, all that the child has to keep them into two groups, where each group has 2 coins, and put these groups together. How many do they get? 4. That means the second multiple of 2 is 4. Just in case I want the third multiple of 2, all that they have to do is make 3 groups of 2 each and then put them together. Once they put them together, they have 6. That means the third multiple of 2 is 6. But normally children find multiples pretty simple. The one where they really get stuck is prime numbers, composite numbers, and factors. Using this methodology will definitely help them to remember, because they used manipulatives and they arrived with their own things, and finally we verbalize the general thing that prime numbers have only 2 factors and composite numbers have more than 2 factors. So, I am sure putting it across to children this way would be much simpler and will help them to do math based on fractions and decimals and all that. I am sure you found this very, very useful. Thank you so much.